no one's talking about like where this is coming from. I mean, and he doesn't even own up to it. You know, he's like, I'm bipolar, then just kidding, I'm not.
Right, it's all just a mystery.
And as someone who has mental illness in my family, it's like I see like people that I love in Kanye, and I'm just like, oh, I want you to get help, and I want you to, you know, he has another platform to represent the mental health like community in another way too, but then people are just like, LOL, Kanye's starting a cult, and look at him being crazy again, and I'm like, you guys don't understand.
So
there's so many levels, but I do love Kanye. I've always been a fan, and I'll definitely continue to listen to whatever he puts out. It's good music. Welcome back to The Hub on LA TV. I'm Natasha Martinez.
And I'm Bruno Sirasioa. Now this week on Scroll Control, we've got Kanye. The rapper turned fashion mogul turned minister went ham as he freestyled his testimony at a recent Sunday service. Now, the artist has been criticized by many as he continues to grow a following for his Sunday service gatherings.
And Yeezy has also continued to tease a new album labeled Jesus is King, which, according to sources, is like this creative evangelical rant on the current state of modern society. And sources are saying that the rant may include encouragement for the youth to put down their phones and ignore the gram. So how do you feel? Does he have a point about the whole phone thing? I mean, I think that's kind of true, but Jesus is king, and I don't know, he started talking about like only releasing gospel music now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm so torn about this. I really think Kanye is a troubled genius. You know, like he has so much going on in his head, and I know what it's like to have all these thoughts and not be able to express them, you know, because I think we all think things that maybe we shouldn't say, and he says them.
Yeah.
So I kind of, in a way, I respect it. And in a way, I'm like, with the Trump stuff, I'm like, it's too far, because now you're like a pariah, you know?
Yeah.
So it becomes like a little bit too far. But in terms of the gospel stuff, I love it. I love gospel music. I'm not religious myself, so this would be a different argument if I was super Catholic or Christian, you know what I mean? I do think what he's doing for the church is good in the sense of he's kind of promoting the idea of church, even if it's not totally like the scripture 100%. I think him infusing his hip hop and his lyrics with the gospel is something that hasn't been done in this way before. And he's traveling all over the country, accessing these towns, you know, these smaller towns. There was a shooting. He went to the site of the shooting, and you know what I mean?
Ohio,
yeah, exactly, in Ohio, and just being in the community like that. He did one in Watts recently, in a parking lot of a church. You know, I feel like that's something that other rappers and other musicians aren't doing. So
it's true. I mean, I think your point is good. He's spreading the idea of Christianity or like a higher being to
and
people.
Community.
To people who normally wouldn't listen. I mean, let's be real. It's Kanye. Like, you know, earlier in the show, you're like, would you go on a date to a church if Kanye was there? Like, hell yeah, I love Kanye. Like, but see, I have this mentality, like I grew up very Catholic, and I still have this like spiritual connection and religious connection. So I have this almost maturity enough to be able to separate and know, like, he may be preaching these ideals. I just want to make sure he's not preaching it in the wrong way for people who don't know, and then who think that it's okay that, like,
I get that.
You know, Kanye uses, I mean, he uses all these parallels, which you could take either as blasphemy, or you can take either as, okay, there's symbolism here and there's something good to it. So, but another thing that I think people don't talk about a lot is, like, he has mental illness.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I see, like, all of these antics happening, like, yes, it's good for the TMZ. Yes, it's good for the headlines, for conversations like this. But no one's talking about like where this is coming from. I mean, and he doesn't even own up to it. You know, he's like, I'm bipolar, then just kidding, I'm not.
Right, it's all just a mystery.
And as someone who has mental illness in my family, it's like I see like people that I love in Kanye, and I'm just like, oh, I want you to get help, and I want you to, you know, he has another platform to represent the mental health like community in another way too. But then people are just like, LOL, Kanye's starting a cult, and look at him being crazy again. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. So there's so many levels, but I do love Kanye. I've always been a fan, and I'll definitely continue to listen to whatever he puts out. It's good music.
Well, if he's got one thing right, it's that social media has way too much influence on the younger generation. With vaping and pill popping at an all-time high, we're seeing laws changing. Advertisements warning the youth everywhere that usually one thing leads to another. as most are referring to vaping as the new gateway drug.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. The anti-drug wave comes a little too late for some, as the lows of addiction have hit a few too soon. So recently, a surge of posts from various media outlets claim that there's been a third arrest in the case of Mac Miller's death.
Yeah, Stephen Walter was recently arrested at his home in Los Angeles. According to a copy of the criminal complaint obtained by Rolling Stone, it was Walter who provided the counterfeit pills to Cameron James Pettit, who then sold them to Miller several days before his death from an accidental overdose. The counterfeit pills allegedly contained fentanyl, and an autopsy of Miller found fentanyl, cocaine, and alcohol in his system, which is so scary.
It was really, really sad. And September marked the one-year anniversary of his passing. And earlier this year, there was some rumors floating around that there might be a posthumous album coming out with producer Madlib, who worked with Mac before he died. But however, in March, Madlib confirmed that he doesn't have any plans to release the posthumous album, but you never know, especially there have been a lot of young artists who have passed and then do release music now. And what's your take on like being a fan of an artist that maybe tragically passed away and having that music released afterwards? Like, are you for it, or do you think that it should have been released as they intended?
I think it's so tricky because you have to think, oh, what would this person have wanted, right? And I think it's most important what they would want, not what the family, not, you know what I mean? It's like, everyone's like, oh yeah, no, you know, the family supports it. Yeah, but what would this person have wanted? And it's hard to tell because they didn't think they were gonna die, so they don't, you know what I mean? In this case, I really think Mac Miller loved music, and that was his way to deal with all the issues that he faced. And you know, he had a lot of demons, obviously, and a lot of the stuff he was dealing with was cured, or at least assisted by the music that he produced. So it would be nice to hear it, but ultimately, it's a tough call. And I don't think it's one for us to make.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's hard because it's like you want to know what they were working on and you want to celebrate like their life and legacy afterwards, but then you have to respect what they've wanted. So, and you don't know that, and that's the sad part.
And that's the sad part.